the boy with the moon on his forehead. Some time after the celebration of the marriage, the king went for 6 months to another part of his dominions. Before setting out, he called to him the 7th queen, and said to her, "I am going away to another part of my dominions for 6 months. Before the expiration of that period I expect you to be confined. But I should like to be present with you at the time, as your enemies may do mischief. Take this golden bell and hang it in your room. When the pains of childbirth come upon you, ring this bell, and I will be with you in a moment in whatever part of my dominions I may be at the time. Remember, you are to ring the bell only when you feel the pains of childbirth." After saying this, the king started on his journey. The 6 queens, who had overheard the king, went on the next day to the apartment of the 7th queen, and said, "What a nice bell of gold you have got, sister! Where did you get it, and why have you hung it up?" The 7th queen, in her simplicity, said, "The king has given it to me, and if I were to ring it, the king would immediately come to me wherever he might be at the time." "Impossible," said the 6 queens, "you must have misunderstood the king. Who can believe that this bell can be heard at the distance of hundreds of miles? Besides, if it could be heard, how would the king be able to travel a great distance in the twinkling of an eye? This must be a hoax. If you ring the bell, you will find that what the king said was pure nonsense." The 6 queens then told her to make a trial. At first she was unwilling, remembering what the king had told her, but at last she was prevailed upon to ring the bell. The king was at the moment halfway to the capital of his other dominions, but at the ringing of the bell he stopped short in his journey, turned back, and in no time stood in the queen's apartments. Finding the queen going about in her rooms, he asked why she had rung the bell though her hour had not come. She, without informing the king of the entreaty of the 6 queens, replied that she rang the bell only to see whether what he had said was true. The king was somewhat indignant, told her distinctly not to ring the bell again till the moment of the coming upon her of the pains of childbirth, and then went away. After the lapse of some weeks, the 6 queens again begged of the 7th queen to make a second trial of the bell. They said to her, "The first time when you rang the bell, the king was only at a short distance from you. It was therefore easy for him to hear the bell and to come to you, but now he has long ago settled in his other capital. Let us see if he will now hear the bell and come to you." She resisted for a long time, but was at last prevailed upon by them to ring the bell. When the sound of the bell reached the king, he was in court dispensing justice, but when he heard the sound of the bell, and no one else heard it, he closed the court and in no time stood in the queen's apartments. Finding that the queen was not about to be confined, he asked her why she had again rung the bell before her hour. She, without saying anything of the importunities of the 6 queens, replied that she merely made a second trial of the bell. The king became very angry, and said to her, "Now listen, since you have called me twice for nothing, let it be known to you that when the throes of childbirth do really come upon you, and you ring the bell ever so lustily, I will not come to you. You must be left to your fate." The king then went away. At last the day of the 7th queen's deliverance arrived. On first feeling the pains, she rang the golden bell. She waited, but the king did not make his appearance. She rang again with all her might, still the king did not make his appearance. The king certainly did hear the sound of the bell, but he did not come, as he was displeased with the queen. When the 6 queens saw that the king did not come, they went to the 7th queen and told her that it was not customary with the ladies of the palace to be confined in the king's apartments. She must go to a hut near the stables. They then sent for the midwife of the palace, and heavily bribed her to make away with the infant the moment it should be born into the world. The 7th queen gave birth to a son who had the moon on his forehead and stars on the palms of his hands, and also to an uncommonly beautiful girl. The midwife had come provided with a couple of newly born pups. She put the pups before the mother, saying, "You have given birth to these," and took away the twin children in an earthen vessel. The queen was quite insensible at the time, and did not notice the twins at the time they were carried away. The king, though he was angry with the 7th queen, yet remembering that she was destined to give birth to the heir of his throne, changed his mind, and came to see her the next morning. The pups were produced before the king as the offspring of the queen. The king's anger and vexation knew no bounds. He ordered that the seventh queen should be expelled from the palace, that she should be clothed in leather, and that she should be employed in the marketplace to drive away crows and to keep off dogs. Though scarcely able to move, she was driven away from the palace, stripped of her fine robes, clothed in leather, and set to drive away the crows of the marketplace.